Tyler's story wasn't about a single mistake or a moment of anger, it was about the change that followed, the growth that came from understanding and self-reflection. It was about learning that true strength came from admitting when you were wrong and having the courage to fix it. He would carry that lesson with him for the rest of his life, knowing that respect, kindness, and humility weren't just things you learned once, they were things you practiced every single day. And as he walked forward, step by step, Tyler knew he was becoming the person he had always wanted to be. As the years passed, Tyler continued to carry the lessons he'd learned from that pivotal moment. The incident with Mr. Johnson, though long behind him, had been a turning point, a moment that sparked a deeper understanding of who he wanted to be and who he could be. Tyler graduated high school with new goals in mind. He had become known not just for his athletic ability or his sharp mind, but for his integrity and growth. He wasn't perfect, he still had moments of impatience and frustration, but he now knew how to handle those moments with grace, humility, and the respect he had once lacked. One evening, after graduation, Tyler decided to visit Mr. Johnson again. He had been meaning to do it for months, but life had always seemed to get in the way. Now, with graduation behind him and a sense of accomplishment filling him, he felt it was the right time. He knocked on Mr. Johnson's door, his heart racing with anticipation. After a few moments, the door opened, and there stood Mr. Johnson, as calm and dignified as ever. His face lit up with recognition and warmth. "Well, if it isn't the young man who's come a long way," Mr. Johnson said, his voice filled with affection. Tyler smiled, feeling the weight of those words. He wasn't just the kid who had shoved the old man on a crowded street anymore. He had become someone else, someone better. "I just wanted to stop by and say thank you," Tyler said sincerely, "for everything you taught me. I've learned a lot, and it's all because of you." Mr. Johnson chuckled, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "You did the work, Tyler. You took the lessons and made them your own. I just pointed you in the right direction." They sat down in Mr. Johnson's living room, sharing stories of the past few months, talking about life and what had changed since they last spoke. Tyler told him about his plans for college and how he intended to major in social work. He wanted to give back, to help others in the way that Mr. Johnson had helped him. "I want to do for others what you did for me," Tyler explained. "Show them that they can change, that it's never too late to be better." Mr. Johnson's smile grew broader. "That's exactly what I hoped for you, Tyler, and I believe you'll do it. You've already started, and that's the most important part." Tyler left Mr. Johnson's house that evening with a renewed sense of purpose. He had come so far, but he knew his journey was far from over. Life would continue to challenge him, and he would continue to face obstacles, but he had the tools now: respect, humility, and the wisdom to know when to pause, reflect, and grow. As he walked home that night, Tyler felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for Mr. Johnson, but for everything that had led him here. The mistakes, the struggles, the moments of doubt, they had all shaped him into who he was. And for the first time in a long while, Tyler felt proud of the person he was becoming. The road ahead wasn't clear, and Tyler knew it wouldn't be easy. But he also knew that with every step, he was learning and becoming stronger. And no matter where life took him, he would always remember that one fateful afternoon, when an act of disrespect had changed his life forever, and how he had used that lesson to become the man he was meant to be. And that, Tyler thought, was the true power of redemption. As Tyler moved through his college years, he continued to live out the lessons that had transformed his life. He majored in social work, just as he had planned, driven by a genuine desire to help others who were struggling. But he didn't just excel in his classes or his volunteer work, he became a role model to others, many of whom were going through their own struggles, facing their own challenges with anger, confusion, or pain. One day, while volunteering at a local community center, Tyler met a young man named Chris. Chris was just a few years younger than him, but his life had been filled with much more hardship. He was quick-tempered, constantly getting into trouble, and seemed to push people away before they could get too close. Tyler could see so much of his younger self in Chris, someone lost, unsure of their place in the world, and running away from the fear of not being enough. They didn't get along at first. Chris didn't trust Tyler, didn't believe that someone who had everything going for him could understand the weight of what it felt like to be stuck in a cycle of anger, but Tyler didn't give up. He knew that it wasn't about solving someone's problems instantly. It was about showing up, being there, and offering patience. As the months went by, Tyler and Chris began to form a connection. Slowly, Chris opened up, and Tyler shared his own story about how a single moment of anger had almost ruined his life, and how he had found redemption through learning to respect others, especially those he had wronged. He talked about Mr. Johnson, how the old man had shown him the value of respect, forgiveness, and the power of personal growth. Chris, in time, started to soften. He began to listen more, to take accountability for his actions, and to realize that there was more to life than constantly pushing back against the world. He didn't change overnight, but there was a noticeable shift in him, a shift that mirrored Tyler's own growth. One day, as they were sitting on the porch of the community center, after a long day of work, Chris turned to Tyler, his voice quieter than usual. "Tyler, I get it now," he said, his eyes reflecting something deeper than Tyler had seen before. "You're not just saying this stuff to sound like a good guy. You're really living it. And I want to try that. I want to be better, like you are." Tyler smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. "It's not about being perfect, Chris. It's about doing the best you can, every single day. We all mess up. The point is to learn from it and keep moving forward." Chris nodded, absorbing the words. He still had a long road ahead of him, but for the first time, he was ready to walk it. A few weeks later, Tyler received a letter in the mail. It was from Mr. Johnson, the man whose wisdom and grace had set him on the path he now walked. The letter was brief but meaningful. "Dear Tyler, I hope this letter finds you well. I've been hearing about your progress and the work you've been doing to help others. You've always had a good heart, and I'm so proud of the man you've become. I wanted to tell you something. You've passed on the lessons I gave you, and you're changing lives. Don't ever forget that. It's a ripple effect. You might not always see the difference you make, but trust me, you're making it. Keep going, my friend. The world needs more people like you." With pride, Mr. Johnson, Tyler read the letter with a lump in his throat. He hadn't realized how much Mr. Johnson's words had shaped his own journey until he saw the impact they had on others. This wasn't just about one mistake. It was about the legacy of kindness and respect that had been passed down to him and was now being passed forward. Tyler continued his work in social services after graduation, always remembering the people who had helped him along the way. He carried Mr. Johnson's legacy with him every day, showing others the same patience, understanding, and forgiveness that had been shown to him. Years later, Tyler stood at a graduation ceremony as a guest speaker for a group of students about to embark on their own journeys. The auditorium was filled with excited faces, many of whom had no idea who he was. But he was okay with that. As he stood in front of them, he realized that the lessons he had learned, the ones that had taken him from a teenager full of anger to a man who had dedicated his life to helping others, were the very lessons he was now sharing with them. "Life will challenge you," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "It will test you in ways you never expected. But it's in those moments of challenge that you will discover who you truly are. It's in those moments of failure that you will learn how to rise again." Tyler paused, looking around the room, remembering his own struggles and triumphs. "And never forget this. The power to change is always in your hands. It's never too late to become the person you're meant to be." As the applause filled the room, Tyler smiled to himself. He hadn't just changed his own life. He had changed the lives of others, and in doing so, he had found his true purpose. The journey was far from over. But Tyler knew one thing for certain. He was walking the right path. And with each step, he would continue to inspire others to do the same. Years went by, and Tyler's story became more than just a personal journey. It became a testament to the power of growth, transformation, and the impact one person could have on the world. His work in social services expanded, and he began leading initiatives to help at-risk youth, teaching them the same lessons he had learned, hoping to break the cycle of anger and despair before it could take root. Through his work, Tyler met many young people who, like him, struggled with their emotions, their choices, and their sense of identity. He connected with them on a deep level, showing them that their mistakes didn't define them, but rather their willingness to learn from them and grow. One of the kids he worked with most closely was a young man named Malik. Malik had been through a lot foster care, living on the streets, dealing with a history of violence and neglect. Like Tyler, Malik had a chip on his shoulder, a quick temper, and a hardened heart. He didn't trust easily, and pushed people away before they could hurt him. But Tyler understood. He'd been there himself. Malik's first few months in the program were rough. He was defiant, standoffish, and refused to engage with the group. He didn't believe that anyone could really help him, least of all someone like Tyler, who seemed so perfect, so far removed from his own life. But Tyler didn't give up. He kept showing up, kept trying to reach Malik with the same patience and understanding that had been given to him all those years ago. He shared his own story about the shove, about Mr. Johnson, and how one small moment of change had turned his whole life around. It was slow, painstaking work. But eventually, Malik started to open up. Slowly he began to trust Tyler. And with that trust came a willingness to listen. Malik started attending group sessions more regularly. And for the first time he began to believe that maybe there was a different way to live. One afternoon, as they sat together after a session, Malik turned to Tyler, his voice softer than usual. "Tyler," he said, almost hesitantly, "I think I get it now. About changing. About not letting your past mess with your future." Tyler looked at him, a proud smile tugging at his lips. "Yeah, man, it's not easy, but it's worth it. Every day's a new chance to be better than the day before." Malik nodded, his expression thoughtful. "You helped me see that. I don't know if I would have believed it if you hadn't stuck with me." Tyler's smile deepened. "I wasn't going to give up on you, Malik, and I'm glad you didn't give up on yourself." Their relationship grew stronger over the months, and Malik's transformation was nothing short of inspiring. He began to take responsibility for his actions, to speak up in group therapy, and to mentor the younger kids who came into the program after him. He was turning into the kind of person who could make a real difference in the world, just like Tyler had. One evening, as Tyler was about to leave for the day, Malik stopped him at the door. "Hey Tyler," Malik said, his voice a bit shaky, "I'm gonna make you proud. I know it's gonna take time, but I'm gonna be better. I don't want to be that angry kid anymore." Tyler's heart swelled with emotion. "You already are, Malik. You've come so far." That was all it took. For Malik to see that he was already making progress, already changing. And for Tyler that was the true reward, the knowledge that he had played a part in helping someone else find their path. A few years later, Malik graduated from the program and started his own journey. He went to college, majoring in psychology, with a focus on helping troubled youth just like him. Tyler had no doubt that Malik would succeed. He had already turned his life around, and now he was passing on what he had learned to others, just as Tyler had done. On the day Malik left the program, Tyler gave him a gift, a framed photo of Mr. Johnson and himself from their first meeting, with a note on the back. "To the next generation, keep the cycle going. You're ready." Malik read the note, his eyes welling up with tears. "Thank you, Tyler. I won't forget this." Tyler gave him a hug, feeling the weight of everything they had both gone through. It wasn't just a job for him anymore. This was his life's work, his purpose. To help others understand that it was never too late to change, to be better, to learn from the past, and use it to create a brighter future. Years later, Tyler stood in front of a new group of young faces at a community center. He was older now, a little more worn from the years of hard work, but his purpose had only grown stronger. The kids in front of him were looking at him with the same doubt and skepticism that he had once had, but he wasn't worried. He had seen this before. He spoke to them with the same conviction he had spoken to Mr. Johnson all those years ago. "You might not believe it now," Tyler said, "but you're capable of more than you know. You don't have to be defined by your past. The power to change, to grow, to be better, is always in your hands. It's your choice, every single day." As he finished his speech, he looked out at the room, feeling a sense of peace. He knew that, just like Malik before them, some of these kids might not believe it right away. But Tyler also knew that change wasn't always immediate. It was a journey, and every journey started with the first step. And so Tyler's story continued, not as a singular chapter of redemption, but as a living legacy, passed down from one person to the next. And every life he touched, every person he helped to find their way, became a part of that story. The power of one act, one choice, one moment of reflection, could change the course of a life forever. And Tyler, through his own redemption, had become the living proof of that truth. And that was all he needed to know. That same evening, after the youth group had ended and the building emptied out, Tyler locked up the center and stepped outside into the quiet night. The city lights glowed in the distance, soft and steady. The breeze carried with it a sense of calm, the kind that only comes when you know you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Tyler stood on the steps for a moment, looking up at the stars. He thought of Mr. Johnson again. He hadn't seen him in a while. Life had gotten busy, and though they'd exchanged letters and phone calls now and then, Tyler hadn't visited in person for a few years. He made a decision right there, under the night sky. It was time to go back, to see the man who had changed his life. The next weekend, Tyler made the trip. He drove through the old neighborhood, past familiar streets that once held different memories. As he pulled up to the quiet, ivy-wrapped home, his chest tightened with emotion. He knocked gently. An unfamiliar woman answered the door, her eyes kind but cautious. "Hi," Tyler said, suddenly unsure. "I'm looking for Mr. Johnson. I used to know him. My name is Tyler." The woman's face softened. She stepped aside and motioned for him to come in. "You must be the young man he always talked about," she said quietly. "I'm his niece. Come in." Tyler's heart sank as he followed her into the cozy living room. On the shelf above the fireplace sat a small wooden box, a framed picture of Mr. Johnson, and several books lined neatly beside it. "I'm sorry," she said gently. "Mr. Johnson passed away a few months ago." Peacefully, in his sleep, Tyler sat down slowly, emotions rushing through him. Grief, gratitude, regret. He hadn't had the chance to say goodbye. But even through the sorrow, there was something comforting in the room, something peaceful. Mr. Johnson had lived a full life, and Tyler knew the man had died, knowing he'd made a difference. The niece handed Tyler a small envelope. "He left this for you. Told me to give it to you if you ever came back." With trembling hands, Tyler opened the envelope. Inside was a short, handwritten note in that same familiar steady script. "Dear Tyler, if you're reading this, it means you came back. I knew you would. By now you've probably helped more people than I'll ever know. That's the kind of man you are. I've always believed in you. Even in your worst moment, I saw something good in you, something strong. And now you've taken that spark and lit a fire in others. You don't need me to guide you anymore. You've become the guide. Keep going, son. Keep showing them the better way. And remember, true power isn't in strength or speed. It's in kindness, forgiveness, and the courage to grow. I'm proud of you. Always, Mr. Johnson." Tyler sat quietly, the letter resting on his lap, tears sliding down his face. The pain of loss, mixed with the warmth of love. Mr. Johnson was gone, but his voice still echoed. His lessons still lived on, in Tyler, in Malik, and in every young soul who'd been touched by the ripple of change. Tyler stood, thanked Mr. Johnson's niece, and stepped out into the late afternoon sun. The world felt a little quieter now, but Tyler knew what he had to do. He returned home, back to the community, back to the work that mattered. Because Mr. Johnson had been right. The power to change lives didn't come from fame or wealth. It came from compassion, from listening, from the courage to admit when you were wrong, and the strength to do better. And now it was Tyler's turn to carry that torch forward. Not just for Mr. Johnson, but for everyone who still needed someone to believe in them.